On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. It's an OU football deep dive with our guy, Dusty Dvoracek. He also gives us some winners and losers of the college football offseason. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Sunday, June 9th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of June, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. That it's the summer in college football. So what do? You call Dusty Dvoracek. That's what you do. You say, hey, man, come on the podcast and let's talk some ball.
Call in the big guns, the big brains. Talk about what's going on across the country.
Yeah, so got a lot of OU content. And a lot of it, we touch a little national college football as well with some winners and losers of the offseason. So let's get right to it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Here's Dusty Dvoracek. It is our pleasure to be joined by the host and the brains of Dusty and Danny in the Morning on SiriusXM Radio. You can see him on News 9 in Oklahoma City. You can see this guy everywhere. ESPN. He is one of the hottest names in all of college football media. Dusty Dvoracek is in the house. What's going on, man?
What's up, boys? How we doing?
Doing good, man. We're just cruising through the off season. It's I know it's a long ways away, but it always gets on us before we know it. And we're gonna be in the SEC, fellas.
July 1. What are we? It's ticking down very quickly. I do believe, I don't think it's been announced, but I would expect, if I'm a Sooner fan, July 1st to be a huge celebration. I think that there's a lot of stuff planned on the university side of things. I think ESPN, SEC Network is going to be setting up shop and making a huge deal. So July 1 is a day that Sooner fans have been waiting for a long time, since the announcement was made, what feels like, 2.5 years ago, when we first found out that this was a reality. It becomes very, very real here very soon. And I think that both from the Oklahoma side, the SEC side, and ESPN, their partner side, they're gonna welcome Oklahoma into the SEC the right way. So big celebration coming our way here very soon.
Just with the way that you said that, I'm going to be shocked if you're not part of some of this coverage. I'm just going to say it. It sounds they got to put the beautiful face out there for the people, man. Come on, what are we even talking about?
I cannot confirm nor deny any said allegations. I can just say, get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I love it. Let's wanted to have you on to talk about this Sooners team, and then, kind of some of the winners and losers of this college football offseason. You love defense.
Oh, yeah.
Dusty D loves him some defense.
Heck yeah.
And let's start the wheelhouse, man. OU's defensive line, more specifically the interior. Just how important was that addition of Dominic Williams?
Massive, huge. I know that Lole goes to Texas. That no disrespect to him, that did not concern me or bother me much. Dominic Williams was a prize in this defensive tackle portal class. And I think it was imperative, given Dejon Terry is the only returning defensive tackle that started a game in college football, that you brought in somebody who had experience. And I really think you needed somebody who was sturdy in the middle. Like, the back two levels of this defense are really good, but in the interior, inexperienced, some young talent. Dejon Terry's a big, sturdy guy, but in the SEC, a line of scrimmage league, you need big dudes and you need guys that can win the line of scrimmage and at the very least hold the point well to allow your backers to do what they do. And Gabe, I mean, both you guys know, y'all been watching TCU for a while. You guys watch their tape just like I do. Dominic Williams is heavy-handed. Okay. He plays with very good pad leverage. He can shed blocks extremely well, and he makes linebackers' jobs that much easier. I think he's the perfect fit. I think he can play a head-up nose when they want to go a three-man front. He can play a shade when they want to go an even front. He can do either things that you ask of him. But the most important thing is to be thick, to be sturdy, and to be strong right there in the middle of your defense. Look, Oklahoma went all in to get him, and I think it was the right move. And I think that I've said this before elsewhere. In no way am I comparing him to Gerald McCoy at all. But, Jordan Phillips came to mind. But from an impact standpoint and what he can potentially mean to this defensive line, I think it's an impact similar to a Gerald McCoy just because he's that good. And I don't think stats do him service. Like, I think the film better than the stats for Dominic Williams. And I applaud the staff. I applaud the collective and everybody that did what they had to do to make this reality. And the truth is, the kid wanted to come to Oklahoma. I know everybody points to the money, and money's a part of this, but I can assure you that they did a phenomenal job recruiting him and said all the things that Dominic and his family wanted to hear. And I think that, like a lot of players, Coach Venables and his staff do an excellent job painting a vision of where this program is headed. And he clearly wanted to be a part of it at Oklahoma. And those are the kind of people you want. I think there's been some inferences out there by some coaches that, some of these players are in it just for the money. I don't think that's the case. I think that anybody given a negotiation, you want to maximize your value. But I think that he picked Oklahoma for a multitude of reasons. And I think personally, I believe he's going to have a real impact up front.
No, it felt like a little bit whenever they got him committed and everything, that it took some of the thunder away from Jaden Jackson. I thought Grayson Holt, some of those other guys. I wanted to hear what you thought about them in the spring. But back to the Dominic Williams thing real quick. You mentioned the stats. Could you talk about the difference between what he was doing at TCU and their front compared to what he'll be doing some and maybe a lot in Brent Venables' front?
Yeah, to a TCU, their D linemen just kind of sit in frog stances. It's what they do. To me, they were much more of a read and react front, meaning you're waiting for a lineman to move. Okay. You are going to react off him. And a lot of times you're just fitting backside, right? When you're that head up nose, you're a backside player. Center goes away, bam, hands are there. I'm going to secure this backside A gap. And it's not always, but in this defense, he's going to get the opportunity to attack more. It's a more attacking front, and it's going to allow him to play more on the other side of the ball. He didn't have a ton of opportunity at TCU to play on the other side of the football. Whether it was Coach Patterson or Coach Gillespie's defense, that's just not really what they did. So I got to think for him, he's got to be pumped and excited just about, kind of unleash himself on the SEC, because look, and you can still have a big impact playing that way, but he's just going to be allowed to be more productive, to be more disruptive in this defense.
He's been a pass rusher too, right?
Push the pocket very well. He's more of a power rusher. I think he uses his hands pretty well, but I really like his power, his strength, and the ability to condense and close down that pocket from the inside. But and he'll still be asked to do some of those things, head up. But even when they go their three-man front, guys, I mean, they do a lot of movement. That that nose is working to one of the A gaps right now. He's not reading or reacting all the time to anything, because a lot of times when they go to that 3-man surface, there's a pressure coming. So it's known before the snap exactly. It's identified where you're going to go, which again allows you to play faster and gives you the potential to be more disruptive. As far as those young guys go, and I love them, and that's one of the benefits. Again, I don't want to sound like a clown and say, "Oh, it's a good thing they didn't land Jermaine Lole." Like, Lole's a big, sturdy guy. He's played a lot of football. He's had some injuries, but he's been a more productive player than Dominic Williams. And I think you always want to have as much depth in the interior, especially in a line of scrimmage league like the SEC. But if he stayed, again, nobody would have been upset. But then you limit potentially the growth of a David Stone, of a Jaden Jackson, of a Grayson Holton, who made a huge jump and a huge stride, both with his size, added some weight, and what I watched him be able to do at the line of scrimmage. He clearly, Coach Bates is awesome. Right? He is really, really good teaching the technique from a development standpoint. Like, he's one of the better D tackles coaches in the country. It's why, it was such a big deal for Brent Venables to get him, to bring him in. And I think his salary reflects that. Like, you got to pay to have great coaches. He's an excellent coach. So I think Grayson Holton is really on that path now, going into year 3, that you could see him take a really big jump. And Dejon Terry, I think, has been sturdy. So I'm really excited about those 3. I guess you call Grayson Holton young from a playing standpoint, but Jaden Jackson is still going to be a huge piece of this rotation. And I actually think it benefits David Stone getting a Dominic Williams, because before you added him, he was going to be essentially part of your 2 deep. I don't think he's ready for that. But I think if you can situationally place him in pass rush situations, in certain spots, and allow him to grow slowly, I think you could really see him throughout the course of the year improve and become a better and better player. So I actually find a little bit of positive in losing Lole, because I think it's going to open up more opportunity for Jaden Jackson and for David Stone. Is that crimson colored glasses I'm looking through or speaking about, or is that a reality?
No, we've talked about the exact same thing on here, Dusty. There's this balance between filling the gaps in your roster with the portal, but also not stunting the growth of the core young guys that are going to be a big part of this program. And I watched every snap that Lole played in 2023. And I think that Jaden Jackson, I'd rather see Jaden Jackson play and grow.
Me too.
That's where I'm at with it. Now, will there be some growing pains with a couple true freshman interior defensive linemen in the SEC?
Hit the wall at some point.
Absolutely. But I'm with you. I think that you're spot on. Now, the defensive line is not just the interior guys.
It's not.
You've got this just did. You've got those 2 edge spots. And I feel like we know exactly what we're going to get from Ethan Downs. At this point in his career. Dude plays extremely hard. He's really strong. Maybe not the twitchiest pass rusher, right? But you know exactly what you're going to get.
Effort, energy, strength. That's what he gives you every single snap.
The rest of the group, when you look at it on paper, there's just not a lot of production there. Like, are you concerned about the lack of production at the edge spot? What are your thoughts on maybe the potential of that group as a whole?
I thought Caden Wooler did some good things in Miami of Ohio transfer. He intrigues me. I need to see more. I can't wait for fall camp to see exactly, what he's looking like to start fall camp. But I mean, I liked what I saw from him. I think 2 players really are going to determine that edge room. It's R. Mason Thomas and it's PJ. It's time for R. Mason, he's the best pass rusher in the room, in my opinion. All right. You don't see it every snap, and he's had some injury issues. If he can stay healthy and he can be the player that I know the staff thinks and I believe he can be, he's going to be a problem. First step quickness, fluid pass rusher. He's bendy. He's finally put on the weight you want to see. I bet he's probably 245, maybe walking around. I think he could walk around at 250 next year, which is perfect. That to me, a 5 technique, that's right where you want to see him. But like, to me, he needs to be a 7 to 10 sack type of guy. I think he's capable of that. And if you can have that on one of your edges, that makes you dangerous. Okay. PJ, if I'm just being completely honest, and I still think the kid's got a high ceiling, I didn't see a big jump from last year to the spring. Again, I watched 3-4 practices and I called the spring game. I'm in no way trying to say that the kid can't play. I think he can play. I would just, one thing for him, I would love to see, and maybe it's never gonna happen, I'd like to see those legs get a little bigger. And I would really like to me, and I remember I was a really stiff guy. Like, I was stiff. I'd love to see him get into like some Pilates. Like, I think if he could loosen up just a little bit,
Dude, just tell him to come to the Ikard house, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yoga
with Gabe.
Pilates, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday.
Hot yoga with
PJ,
Gabe.
open invite, buddy.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I would love to see those hips loosen up just a little bit, because he is strong. Like, you could tell that, and you could tell like the kid is a good football player. I hope this is a really good summer, which it will be with Schmitty. But those two guys are kind of the keys to me as to just how good that edge room is. And if those two can continue to develop, and R. Mason can be that, I don't think you even have to have R. Mason as all 3 down player. Second long, third long, when they know and you know, you got to get to the queue. You got to disrupt the queue. If he can be that type of player, I think the edge room is going to be just fine.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first, Love's Travel Stops is now offering a nationwide 10-cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel. Just download the Love's Connect app and scan your barcode at the prompt on screen and watch that price drop 10 cents per gallon. Across the country, the Love's Connect app unlocks exclusive deals and can help any traveler plan their route or meal on the highway. So before you hit the road, be sure to download the Love's Connect app to save 10 cents per gallon and experience the country's best highway hospitality at Love's Travel Stops. Love's also has you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones with their expanded mobile to-go zone. And of course, don't forget to grab yourself some of that delicious Java Amore.
And celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works. Named after the iconic Schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you can join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU Athletic events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit SchoonerAle.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day.
And we love Simple Modern. Simple Modern is an Oklahoma-owned drinkware company and #1 drinkware sales leader on Amazon and Target. This summer, Simple Modern launched its Summer Shop, where they drop new and unique drinkware options every other Tuesday all summer long. Now you can get your own limited edition version of their extremely popular 40-ounce Treks in designs you won't see anywhere else. And even better, Simple Modern exists to give generously, donating 10% of all profits, so you can know you're helping better Oklahoma and beyond with every purchase. Check out the Summer Shop and all their amazing products at simplemodern.com. All right, back to the interview.
You know, the back end, linebacker, safety, corner, has a chance to be incredibly good. Stutzman obviously coming back. I mean, depending on what type of year he has, and I would think he's going to have a really good one, especially with getting Dominic Williams in. What do you think? Like, what's the ceiling of the group on the back end? Maybe some of the position battles that we're going to see at the inside backer spot next to Stutzman, corner. And I mean, I say position battle at safety. It's more of how do we find a way to get all these guys on the field?
There's so many good players. I'm going to have to caution myself because I'm I think I've become overly optimistic about the defense and the back two levels. I was in Walmart the other day buying some groceries, and a guy stopped me and he said, I saw you say the other day that this is going to be the best defense that you've been covering the team. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, first of all, I'm trying to check out. I was like, but I said they have the potential to be. When did we start covering the team, Ted? Was it 2011?
The bowl game, like the back
12?
couple of games of the 2011 year.
Ryan Broyles tore his ACL the first game you and I covered as
A&M at home.
A&M.
members. Yeah.
That was not good.
Again, this is no disrespect to any of those defenses. I'm having a hard time, and fill me in if I'm missing. There were, a couple years ago, was it 21? They were really good. I think they were a top 30 defense, and they got a lot of takeaways. That would have been a year, maybe.
15.
Yes.
Statistically, it was pretty good. Eric Stryker had an incredible year.
I still think this team, from a talent perspective, has the chance to be at exact. When was the last time that there were NFL players on all three levels? You've got arguably the best linebacker in the country. He's in the conversation. You've got arguably the best safety in college football. Billy Bowman's in the conversation. Dominic Williams is probably no worse than a day two, early day three pick. When was the last time that Oklahoma had legitimate, like, it's going to happen. They're going to have three NFL players drafted, they're going to have players drafted off of all three levels. I don't remember the last time that's happened in the same season. So I'm basing it off of that. Now, you got to go out and play. You can't bust. Injuries happen. I don't want to make any declarative statement, but the ingredients are there. I think the linebacker room is loaded. Ted, you and I sat with Coach Venables whenever we were getting ready for the spring game in our production call. And I mean, clearly the man loves the linebackers, but he couldn't stop talking about them and just the growth and everything that's transpired from so many of those guys in that room. I think it'll be interesting. I think it's Lewis Carter or Kip Lewis. I think is going to be that linebacker next to Danny. But I think you're going to see Kobe McKenzie has a heavy hat, coverage wise. It's not always the best, but I love his aggressiveness, his downhill nature. Jaron Canick can get lost at times, but he is a fast, athletic dude that's played a lot of football now. Like, it's going to be an unbelievable competition for reps in that linebacker room. And that's exactly what you want. Safety, I don't even think it's close. It's the best safety room I can remember. Probably going back to when I played. Honestly. Because I think that there is no doubt Billy Bowman is a big-time football player. Peyton Bowen is well on his way to being a big-time football player. The two freshmen, Boganowski, and then what was it?
Hardy.
Hardy. Hardy
Yes.
and Reggie. Yeah.
Yes, both of those guys. It's going to be hard to keep them off the field. It's going to be very hard to keep them off the field. Brandon Hall has done an exceptional job with that room, and he's a great teacher as well. So they've got talent, and then they're also being developed, which I love. I think the corners are in a good spot. I like just there's more length out there. I thought that I think Kanai Walker's, really set up to have a big time season. I think that there's depth there. I don't feel as good about that as I do safety and linebacker, but I feel good about it. So I could go on and on. The ingredients are there for a really good defense. And I think the other aspect too, guys, it's year three. It's year three for a lot of these guys in this system. You bring in a young, energetic defensive coordinator that sees everything the exact same as the head coach. And I honestly believe it's going to allow Coach Venables to take his time and his attention elsewhere. I thought it was a really good, I've used this story a couple times, and it may seem insignificant to some, but when he was talking about just drawing up cards for practice, And I don't know how many people know what goes into a practice on a given day, but the staff for a scout team has to draw up all these different look cards. And you got to spend a lot of time. And you want to match what a team has shown on tape, what you think they're going to give you. And then you want to I think you want to do both. You want to put your defense in an advantageous look and how that looks. And you also want to put them in maybe not an advantageous look and see how that looks. That way, when you're in the week of prep, you can get a sense of how things might play out, where our holes are, where we might be susceptible to mistakes. And it can be a pretty tedious process, especially when you're an attention to detail guy like Brent Venables is, because he wants it done a certain way. Well, he brings in a defensive coordinator that he taught for 7 years at Clemson. And now something that, and this is no knock on Ted Roof. I love Ted Roof. He's a great guy. And I think he's going to move on and do good things in his own right as a defensive coordinator. But he hasn't always been with Coach V. They don't see things the exact same. And so something as simple as drawing up cards on a daily basis, whereas Coach Venables may have to go back, rewrite, relook at those cards, he don't have to worry about that anymore. Like, that's taken care of. And I think that's just one example of many that's going to allow him to be more of a head coach and trust and know that the defense is taken care of. So I really think adding Zach Alley is a big benefit to this football team. And I'm intrigued to see, he gave him a lot of control, Ted, in the spring. And I think that's going to continue in season, but at the very least, just that seeing things from the same lens, that trust, and I think somebody that can check him. I think Coach Alley has the ability and the respect from Coach V to check him on certain things. And I think that's another added benefit that we'll see play out this season.
With their experience together, Alley and Venables, are you expecting the defense to look pretty similar from a structural standpoint to what we've seen the last couple seasons? Or do you think there could be some pretty significant changes with Alley directing things?
No, I think it's going to look structurally similar. Ted, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but when I've been out there and really when I've talked to other coaches or the players, like having a chance to talk to Danny, there are some differences. Subtle. I don't think, Ted, and you will notice, I'll notice. I don't think that your average fan is going to notice. Teams looking at their tape will, but I think for the most part, the structure, I think it's the same. But I think potentially the way you attack different situations, there's going to be some subtle differences. I'll say that. But I think, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Zach Alley had a ton of success running this defense at Jacksonville State. I want to say yards per play, they're like a top 10 defense in the country, I think top 20 overall. Like, this guy, even though he's young, he's good at what he does, and he's good at what he does because he learned from the best and he's implemented that. So I'd be stunned if we saw any wholesale structural changes. It'll look and seem the same, I think, to most people.
Should we hit some offense, or
there's offense? Heck yeah, we need to hit some offense, man.
You want to hit the more important side of the ball, guys? Excellent. Love that.
Well, what do you think? Ted. Like, it's obviously Lebby's gone. Number 3 offense in the country last year in total offense. Luttrell, Joe John Finley taking over as co-offensive coordinators. I guess the first thing is, what do you think about the philosophy of the offense? How's it going to be the same? How's it going to be different?
I can't believe Oklahoma had the number 3 offense based off of a lot of fan reaction last year. I thought the offense stunk. That's what crazy. I heard all
number
the time.
3 total, and I think number 4 scoring offense.
And because they're really good, because Jeff Lebby's really good. Fortunately, you keep and retain 2 outstanding coaches. Obviously, we know Joe John and Seth very well, and I'm going to speak highly of them, not just because they're good friends of mine, but I think they're really good coaches. I think there's going to be a lot of similarities. Remember, I'm telling you what you know, but for the listeners, I mean, Joe John came up in the Baylor offense. I mean, that's where he got to start. That's what he learned. That's what he knows. and he knows it inside out, upside down. So I think there's going to be a lot of elements that are the same. But what I love is this melding of Seth Luttrell and Joe John, because Seth, I think from a principle standpoint, believes in a lot of the same things. He's just, I think where you're going to see the biggest differences, I think, is in the run game. I do think that they're going to implement some different run schemes. I don't think that, and I think a huge advantage too, there are few coaches in the country that are as close as Seth Luttrell and Bill Bedenbaugh. I mean, they're family, legitimate family, and they go back to Texas Tech when they were on staff together. So I think that a fullback's mind, and that's one thing to start off with, like that's how Seth views things. Run the football, line of scrimmage. Like, I know for a fact he wants to move people off the ball. He wants to run the football. And I know Jeff did too, and that's a big part of that style of offense. But I think even more so for Seth, given his background as a player, and even go look at his offenses at North Texas. They are a running football team. And I think that collaboration with him and Coach Bedenbaugh is going to be really good. And I think that you're going to see some differences specifically in that area of the run game. So one thing that I don't know, and I'll be intrigued just kind of across all of football, is with the helmet comms, how much do they utilize that from a huddling standpoint? My gut is they're still going to go fast, but I do think, and I think this should make fans happy, because I think this was a rub. When games were maybe in hand, the inability to run clock, I think that if social media is an indicator of the way a lot of people feel, that rubbed people the wrong way. I think now with the helmet comms, you get a lead, you now slow things down, you maybe even huddle.
Helps
right?
the young quarterback.
That's right. So I think that'll be another difference. Situational game management, I think, is something that you'll see them not just snap, 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 snap. They will do that, but I think once games get to a certain point, and as the game dictates, I think that those two offensive coordinators will adjust accordingly. It's easy to say we want to run the football, but it's easy to say we're going to move people off the ball. But as Gabe knows very well, it's tough to move people off the ball. It's tough to dominate the line of scrimmage, especially against some of the, just be real. There are some legit defensive lines in the SEC. It's what it is. It's going to be very real. And I say this a lot, and Bill, I trust. I think we have one of the absolute best offensive line coaches. I think Oklahoma has one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. But look, you lost 4 starters from last year. I mean, that's real. Whether it be the portal, you lose one to Missouri, 2 guys get drafted, and then the center that left probably before he should have left. But that's his choice. That's his prerogative. 4 starters, and you've got to remake that offensive line. The Fabechi from North Texas was paramount. I mean, thank goodness they landed him. And boy, he's a player. Like I remember Gabe and I, my first practice I went to, I walked out there with Gabe and I was like, dang, who's that? So that's the North Texas transfer. And then it's like, looks the part, nasty, physical, heavy hands. Like, I think he's going to do a really nice job for you. I think getting the SMU center was huge. I don't know if he's all SEC, but he's experienced. He's played a lot of football. I've talked to coaches on the SMU staff that rave about his leadership and what he's going to do. I think be able to get kind of a mix and match offensive line all on one page. Gabe, I mean, again, we got All-American center here. I'm preaching to the choir. And I think that they've got enough other players that they're going to be okay. But if I'm being honest, like, I think that's still got to be at least an area of caution, if not concern, early on in the season. I think that personally, I believe that's a group that's just going to get better and better throughout the course of the year. Everywhere else, I think the receiver room's awesome. I think Emmett Jones is a big-time receiver coach, man. From a recruiting standpoint, development. I was around was around Drake Stoops a lot this offseason. He was actually helping my son learn how to run routes the right way. He was teaching me how to help my son run routes the right way. And I talked with Drake a lot, and it's just how much he talked about Emmett Jones and how much he learned from him in the short time they had. He's really good. And I think you see that with the development of the receivers already on the roster. Jaden Gibson, way better than he was previously. Nick Anderson, only going to continue to improve. Andrell Anthony, he was the best receiver Oklahoma had prior to the injury. Now he's back for another year. Deion Burks, it took me all of 15 seconds to go, who's that guy? He looks, what did we decide, Gabe? We said it was if Mark Clayton and
Sterling Shepard had
a baby, maybe a muscled up version. And boy, whether it's practice or that spring game, he's going to be a problem. So I think it's the first time in a while that I legitimately say, and the receiver room it's in a really good spot. I think tight ends thin. I'll be completely honest. I think they're okay.
Yeah. Dusty, you mentioned that. I think all three of us believe in being able to have, to throw different personnel groupings out there on the field and how that challenges the defense and how that challenges your preparation as a defense.
Yeah.
Any concern that they don't have 2-3 tight ends that they can trust to put out there on the field to create that element of the offense.
I don't think it's a concern. They'll be in a better spot than they were last year. Was it Bauer Sharp? I know that, he's going to be a nice player. I like 12 personnel. That's just me. I'm a 12 personnel kind of guy. And especially when you have versatile tight ends that you don't really know what you're in, to your point. Like it can create a problem. Are they in 12? Are they in 13? What's the strength here? Is this a more run dominant look? Is this more pass? And when you can keep a defense on your toes, to me, that's very tough.
Do we declare to speed? Do we declare to the more wide tight end with the
it's
strength
hard,
of the
man.
defense? It creates problems. It creates variables.
It's hard. So would I love to see them get to a place where they have that as part of their repertoire? Yes. I don't think they're quite there yet, but it doesn't overly concern me. I would like to see that room get a little bit stronger. Running backs, I feel good about the running back room. I can't wait to see Taylor Tatum. That's the one variable that I think could be a huge, huge win for this Oklahoma backfield. DeMarco Murray, first of all, he's extremely impressive, and he never hypes up anybody. I'm sure you guys know this. DeMarco's like, hey, he's okay. He's he is so
whenever you're as good as DeMarco.
Right. He's so cautious though to anoint anybody the next this or the great that. Right? That's the way he is. He thinks Taylor Tatum's gonna be really good. I'll just leave it at that. And so if DeMarco thinks that, I'm gonna think that he knows what he's looking at. I sure hope Gavin Sawchuk picks up right where he left off. What was it, 5 straight 100-yard games when he was finally healthy? He had that hamstring he had all the first half of the year. He's never right. Once he got right, you saw that explosiveness, that big play capability. And you saw a little bit of that in the spring game. I think they may throw to him more. I think he can be a weapon out of the backfield as a pass catcher, which leads us to quarterback, obviously. The one thing that I love seeing out of Jackson Arnold in the spring game, I thought he was smart. Against Arizona, especially early, he kind of just let it rip. He's got that gunslinger mentality. He's got a very live arm, and he believes, and he's probably right most of the time, he can make any throw, which is great, man. You want that confidence. You want that bravado. You want that gunslinger mentality. But you also want to be able to harness that. And, it's a delicate balance I'm sure Seth's walking right now. You want to keep that mindset, but you also want to live to fight another day. And sometimes, as hard as it is for a guy like that knows he can rip this ball in this tight window and he can pick up that first down on 3rd and 12. but you can also throw it to the other team. It's hard for him to say, you know what, it's not there. I don't need to take that shot. It's a close game. Let me hit my check down. Like, quarterbacks don't want to hit the check down. But what I saw in that spring game, it's a small glimpse. It by no means is a guarantee that this is what's happening. I saw him check it down several times. One of them was to Gavin Sawchuk on a third down. And Sawchuk was in the middle of the field. He made a guy miss, and boom, he gets the first down. They move the chain. I think they go on and score a touchdown that drive. I remember seeing that play thinking, that was one of my favorite plays. And I'm sure everybody else looked at the throws to Deion Burks or, all the other plays, but like, he's going to be able to do all that. Like, Jackson Arnold's a dude, but to be able to be smart, take care of the ball, put your team in good spots while still being able to have those other splash play moments is a real key. And for me, I thought he played really well in the spring game because I saw him. There was another third down, I think. Nothing was open down the field. He got outside of the pocket. It was a foot race to the near sidelines, and he moved the chains. He moves the sticks. If he can continue to play smart football and grow in that aspect, I think he's going to be exactly what everybody thinks he's got the chance to be. That's a really good upper-level quarterback in the SEC and in college football. So, I think that this team is probably – I think they're better defensively right now heading into the season, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I think this offense is going to take some massive step back. I just think that they're going to be as balanced, more balanced than they've been since Brent Venables has taken over.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first,
all you grill masters, listen up. Didier Ranch delivers quality beef that is 100% raised in Oklahoma right to your front door. Go to DidierRanch.com, DIDIER ranch.com to order one of their premium quality beef boxes and use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Filet, ribeye, New York strips, sirloin, steak burgers, they've got it all, and they ship anywhere in the continental U.S., and Oklahomans can get deliveries in just 1 to 2 days. The only thing better than having a lot of premium beef on the O&D line is having premium beef delivered right to your front door. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter, toasted buns, and some ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it is the go-to late night spot. You got to get the bison burger, people. It is so good. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
Attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at Insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
All right, back to the interview.
What do you think is going to be? Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah. What do you think the key for them is, like, as they head into the SEC? Like, I believe, like, as I thought you put it really nicely, the recipe is there defensively to have one of the better defenses in the SEC, which is crazy that we're having that conversation. After what we've gone through as a program defensively over the years, but
thank God, by the way.
Right. I guess what I'm asking is, where do we stack up in the SEC? Because if you listen to pundits out there, it's not very high. And frankly, I don't think that's the case, but I'd like to hear what you think.
I mean, look, the schedule's a bear, boys. I mean, the schedule, there's really no other way to slice it. I want to say, in most of these,
isn't that a good thing, though?
Yeah, sure.
I think what we've suffered from is like playing the big game and then there's nothing else on the schedule. Like then the coaches will tell you all the time, like they try to scare you with every team. But after the Texas game and you look at the schedule and you've got Kansas and Baylor and Texas Tech, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's going to help because you're going to have a team that's absolutely on edge.
Yeah, you better be on edge. My goodness, if you're not, it's going to be a problem. But if you look at Oklahoma and Texas schedules next to each other, I mean, it's from the SEC side of things, it's not even close.
Give me the Texas schedule. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get Georgia's coming to Austin. You got to go to Ann Arbor and the non-conference. I'm not saying it's just a walk in the park. But if you put those just SEC 8-game schedules side by side, there's a big discrepancy.
Everyone that plays us, except for South Carolina, has a bye week or like a Citadel game before.
And so like the way too early top 25s, you know, everybody's got coming out. Everybody's had them post-spring. I want to say I looked at one the other day. Can't remember who had it. It might have been CBS Sports. I can't remember. But I think Oklahoma came in at 13, and they were like the seventh best in the SEC. And I want to say every one of those, not named Georgia, is on the schedule. So it's fair to say you could be a much better team this year. Record may not reflect it. I still haven't answered your question. I think the one thing that they've got to do for this season, you got to defend Owen Field. Home field has to matter, because even though I think Oklahoma's better than Auburn, and I've never been to Jordan Hare, but everybody tells me it is possibly the best home field environment in college football. That's why, you know, last year Alabama almost lost there. Now, Mexico State went in there and won the week before that. So, you know, there's some give take with that, but even that game is not going to be easy. Columbia, Missouri is not going to be easy. Oxford, Mississippi is going to be tough. I don't have to tell you guys what that trip to Baton Rouge is going to be like. I don't say any of that to say, ooh, I'm scared. This makes me nervous. I think Oklahoma can win a couple of those games. I think they can win at Columbia. I think that they can go win at Auburn. But you need to protect your home field. And that includes a really good Josh Heupel-led Tennessee team. That includes an Alabama team that I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't think they're taking some big step back. I just don't. Kalen DeBoer is really good. There's a ton of talent left on that roster. Like, you're going to have to earn those wins. Can they do it? Absolutely. But I think that, like, a path to a good season, and this is how I frame this season. What's the win total? 7.5?
Yeah.
You need to win 8 games. I think Oklahoma is going to win 8 games. If you get to 9 or anything above that, from a team, from a coaching staff, from a fan base perspective, you should feel really good about where this program is. Like that's the way I look at this season. This is year 3 for Brent Venables. I don't think you can take steps back and get back, 6-6. That's not where this thing needs to go. Even 7-5, like 8-4 or better. I think you got to feel good. If you get 9 wins or better, you got to feel great about where this season is. And I personally think 9 wins is attainable. It's not going to be easy, but if you win 9 games, you're probably one of the top 10 to 12 teams in all of college football, given the schedule they've got in front of them next year.
I think that's fair, man. Now, you do host a national radio show every weekday. Wanted to give you the opportunity to flex the national chops a little bit after flexing the OU chops, okay?
Okay.
Play a little game. Winners and losers.
Okay.
Of the offseason so far. You want to start with winners or losers? Losers is kind of always more fun.
Yeah, I just feel bad, though. I don't like to point out anyone that's a loser. That's a strong word.
It's not that they're actually losers, just they've said something, done something this offseason that maybe wasn't great,
I like to accentuate the positive, especially my broadcast. I try to on air, try to accentuate the positive, maybe keep some of the negative to myself when I'm on air. I know sometimes it's hard to know when you're on air or off air. I'll leave it at that. The winners. I think Ted had to close his eyes for that one.
Took me a minute.
Ted had something in his eye. He had something in his eye.
I think Ohio State, it's hard not to start there. I mean, you add Quinshon Judkins to an already talented backfield with Henderson. That's tough. You add Caleb Downs at safety, who is in the conversation as the best safety in college football. He was sensational as a freshman last year. You add him to that defense that essentially brought everybody back. I mean, JTT, Burke, the corner, like pretty much everybody. They lose a linebacker, but that defense, who Jim Knowles, by the way, has quickly turned that into a top 5 defense. They just got better. Like Jack Sawyer, JTT, Tyleek Williams, their D-line is going to be humming. They got dudes at all 3 levels. They also, you lose Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Ibuka is back. They added, I'm drawing a blank on the top wide receiver in high school coming out. I've been told this kid might wind up being the best receiver in the country next year. Like, that's how good. I think he's like 6'4", 215. I'm sure, Gabe, you could probably give me a quick
Jeremiah Smith.
It's a name to remember. Okay. He's the real deal. Oh, by the way, did I mention you brought in Chip Kelly? Chip Kelly's your OC. Hey, we can have debates on how good of a head coach Chip Kelly is. I actually think he's pretty good. But I don't think there's any debate as far as run game coordinator, offensive mind. His run game schemes, they're some of my favorites in the country. Like watching UCLA last year, watching them throttle and dismantle USC, it was something beautiful. But the way they attack you and the run schemes that he puts together, and you got those 2 guys in the backfield with an offensive line that comes back intact. The only question I would say is Will Howard. And I like Will Howard. And Gabe, you and I covered the Big 12 pretty extensively. He's a Big 12 champion. He had a rough night last year on a Friday in Stillwater that kind of gave some people some pause. And part of the reason he's gone, if we're being honest, is Avery Johnson is such a talented young quarterback in Manhattan that they ran him out of Dodge. So what does Will Howard do now with the expectation level in Columbus, Ohio compared to Manhattan, Kansas? It's not even comparable. So how does he handle all that pressure? And now that he's got all these weapons, like, to me, it's a defensive team that's going to run the football, and Will Howard's just going to be an accent with all these pieces around him. I think they've won the offseason. Another team that's going to be right there with them, how can it not be Oregon? Like, there's a reason Dan Lanning said, I'm good, Alabama. I'm going to stay right here. It's because they might have the best collective, spearheaded by a guy named Phil Knight, Division Street. They can get whatever they want. And I thought that was pretty reflective when they didn't just get 1 quarterback, they got 2. You got the quarterback of now in Dylan Gabriel, who I think is going to have a phenomenal year in that offense. And then you got Dante Moore, who's the quarterback in waiting in the future. So, like, not only do they set themselves up in the immediate, but they set themselves up for long-term success at that position too. I think Evan Stewart, the Texas A&M wide receiver, I think he's a big-time player. It won't surprise me if he has a bigger year than Franklin, who's now in the NFL. I thought that was a massive get. They got players on the defensive side. They're going to help them improve on the first and second portal windows. And I think that's another team that's been a massive, massive winner. This isn't going to be great for Oklahoma fans, but what Lane Kiffin's doing there in Oxford, and I know they lost Quinshon Judkins, but I thought Walter Nolan being added to that defensive line, like, of all the players that have come through the portal, I could make a case that he's the best and most talented player from either portal session. And so, like, the one knock on Ole Miss or even Lane Kiffin has been they haven't played elite defense. Like, I think they upgraded in several positions on the defensive side of the ball. They added an edge rusher. They added a D tackle. They added a corner. Like, they got a legit roster. Like, it feels like Ole Miss is kind of they pushed their chips in and they said, we're all in. And I think Jackson Dart, you didn't gain this, but getting him to come back for another year, he got way better from year 1 to year 2. And I would expect he's going to continue that growth and maturation in year 3 as a starter there in Oxford. So that would be 3 that kind of jump out to me. I'll give you one more, Miami. And I'm fascinated to see what happens there. I think the quarterback that they added has got a chance to be one of the best in the portal. Washington State transfer. Ward he's a legit threat as a runner, as a thrower. I love the Damian Martinez kid from Oregon State. Now, he's from my neck of the woods. He's from Louisville, Texas, but he is thick. He is a power back. And Mario Cristobal, being an old O-line coach, that's what he wants to be. Like they want to line up and they want to run the ball down your throat. And they've got a really good
don't want to
NIL
take
situation.
a knee, but they'll run it.
Don't get me. I mean, that was
just ridiculous.
When you got a game and you got a game secured, just go win the game.
Just take a knee. Just take a knee.
And I think Miami, and I think it's a huge year for them, right? Because Clemson's going to be Clemson. Florida State is another team that I could easily say is a big winner. They've reloaded. I still don't know what DJU is, but they got a really nice roster. But I think Miami is a team to keep an eye on, and they've upgraded the personnel quite a bit. So there you go. There's 4 winners.
Yeah,
Losers wise, Clemson, man.
That's what I was going to ask. Whenever you start listing off the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Oregons, like Texas, all of these
Texas
teams.
A winner.
Well, I'm just saying, like adding pieces onto their team to fill holes and bridge gaps, and Clemson doesn't do any of that. Is there any way to keep pace for them?
I don't think so. I don't know. I like Dabo Swinney so much. Like we had him on the show 2 weeks ago, and there's a part of me that wants him to succeed. Like I think transfer portal is great. I have no problem with anybody that wants to get in the portal, with coaches that want to utilize the portal. I think when used properly, it's exactly what you said, Ted. I think it's to fill in holes, add a little depth in some areas of weakness. I still think your core foundational piece of your program is the high school recruiting, developing those guys from a young age. I don't think that's ever going to change. But, Dabo, how about this, guys? In the last 4 portal cycles, 2 players they've taken from the portal. 2. And that was in 2021, they didn't take anybody. In 22 and 23, 1 each year. And this 24 cycle, 0. The other schools that had 0 players they added via the portal?
Yeah.
Army,
triple option.
Navy, and Air Force. That's it. That's the list. So there's an element of me, like I love what Dabo's about. I love the things that he has to say. I'm very, very cautious that can survive and that can keep you at the top of an ACC or at the top of college football moving forward. Because other teams, man, and they lost 12 players this year. And I get they may not be losing starters, but they're losing depth. And when you don't replenish that or replace it, how do you keep track? How do you keep pace with all those other schools in your conference and around college football that do? They're 2 years removed from an ACC championship. And if we're being honest, they had Florida State beat last year. That game goes to overtime. They lose it. I can't sit here and say that they've fallen off a cliff, but it was the first time in 13 years Clemson doesn't win double-digit games. I don't think you can sustain, because here's the deal. Dabo's kind of a victim of his own circumstance. He's raised the bar so high at Clemson, which Coach Venables helped him do, that there was a time when there was a legit argument. Who's the better program? Is it Bama or Clemson? I think it was still Bama, but you could have the discussion. And so that was the standard of Clemson football. Winning the ACC every year, being in the playoff, and competing for national championships. That has massively taken a step back Will that continue to happen? Will there be a continued slide? I don't know, but if you're asking my opinion, I don't think you can sustain at the very top when other people are supplementing their rosters with quality players, and you're just going to continue to say, these are our guys, and we're going to do everything we can to stay at the top of college football. I don't think that's a reality, but we're going to find out. So I think they have to be a loser, and they have to be a loser just because their philosophy has not adapted, has not adjusted with where college football currently is in 2024.
We'll get you back to the interview. But first, fellas, Father's Day is coming up on June 16th, and our friends at Manscaped have some excellent gift options for you to get your dad. Head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with code OKBreakdown. My dad's got a beard. He's had it my entire life. He needs a beard trimmer upgrade. Got to have it. So I got him the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It's the complete beard maintenance kit for all the bearded dads out there. This all-in-one kit comes with a beard hedger. That's Manscaped's most advanced beard trimmer, as well as shampoo, conditioner, oil, and balm for his beard. It also comes with a brush, comb, and scissors so he can style his beard and mustache. This kit's fancy, y'all. It's fancy. Now, maybe your dad isn't blessed with a luxurious beard. Maybe you're like Ted Lehman over there, beardless. Well, you can get some of the Boxers 2.0. They were designed with a simple mission: to make the most comfortable boxers using perforated performance fabric for extra breathability. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code OKBreakdown at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code OKBreakdown. Happy Father's Day from Manscaped.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
All right, back to the interview. The other two things I wanted to pry out of you, I just said in my notes, Brian Kelly knows he can buy players, right? And then seems like things are getting awkward at Colorado with Deion. Just like not, they're still sold out all of their season tickets, but they feel like they're getting a little awkward. Those were the other two things I wanted to pry out of you.
So I kind of referenced that earlier when I said contrary, when I was talking about Dominic Williams, because it did feel like that was a direct shot at maybe him or other D tackles that they're only about the money. I don't think, some of these guys are only about the money. I did the LSU spring game, and I like Coach Kelly. First of all, he's a hell of a coach. Let's just be real. Dude wins. He won big at Cincinnati. He won big at Notre Dame. His first two seasons, he won 10 games at LSU. Like, he's a big-time football coach. He made no bones about it. When we said in our production meeting, we're going after D tackles straight up. And I said, he was emphatic, not tackles. He's like, we have a deficiency. We're not good enough there. We're going to address that starting next week in the portal. And I even asked him, like, are you good on the record? He's like, oh yeah. The next day we're doing the broadcast. We're doing it from the field. He comes on for the first segment, sits with us. He says it on air. Like, he was not like being shy about it. So, like, it was a huge point of emphasis to address the defensive tackle need. I did not love his comments that he made on that podcast. And I have the utmost respect for Coach Kelly. I'm a big fan of his. But I didn't love what he had to say there, because I didn't think it was look, I don't, everybody has their reasoning and rationale for why they want to go to a certain place. For some players, it is the almighty dollar. And no matter what, whoever makes the best offer, they're going to go there. And fine. And I think there's a lot of coaches that they don't want those players. But there's also other players that there's a lot of things that go into it. The money is an aspect of it, but the culture is an aspect of it. And the coaching staff is an aspect of it. The chance to win a championship, a lot of things that he described. And it felt like he insinuated that there weren't any players in this portal session that were about those things. I didn't love that. So look, Coach Kelly, they've got a great NIL at LSU. They've utilized it. They're going to continue to utilize it. And he has to say what he has to say, but I was not a huge fan of those comments. Boulder, I don't know what's going on there, man. I have a hard time seeing them get to 5 wins. Maybe I think they've got the best player in college football. I think Travis Hunter is amazing. My son and I were talking yesterday. We were throwing the football in the yard. He said, Dad, we were talking about the new NCAA college game that we've got on pre-order. We're pretty fired up here about that game. He said, Dad, who do you think is going to have the highest rating? Who's the best player in college football? I said, honestly, bud, I think it's Travis Hunter. He said, me too. I think he's the best player in the country. What that guy can do is special. I think Shedeur is proven he can play quarterback at a high level. And I'm a believer in the portal, but I'm a believer in supplementing. The amount of wholesale changes, both from a staff and an overall roster perspective, I don't know, man. I don't know how it's going to look. And I'm going to tell you this, much like the SEC did not do Oklahoma any favors, the Big 12 did not do Coach Prime any favors. The back 7 games of that schedule are brutal. If I were ranking the top teams in the Big 12, I think 6 of my top 7 would be on the schedule for Colorado the back half of the season. It's going to be fascinating to find out what happens, but I'm one that I don't know if they're going to be able to break through. I don't know if I see them hitting that magical 6 number to go bowling. So again, they've lost some good players. They've added some good players. I'll be rooting for my man, Phil Lodeholt, who's the offensive line coach. Love that Big Phil's getting an opportunity. I've got my questions. I've got my doubts about exactly how this season's going to play out in Boulder. Is that good enough for the national perspective?
I wanted to let you flex, man. Yeah, let them know. Let them know. We're the brightest minds in the college football media, Gabe. Let's go. You're the best,
dude. I want to give a shout out to Bob's boys, Corey Klein. I don't think he watches the podcast, but if he does, got to give a shout out to our man, Corey Klein.
Come on, Corey.
Well, he should. And maybe now that he knows that his logo and his branding has made the show, maybe he'll be an avid listener. Let's hope.
Double D, you're the man. It's always so fun having you on here to talk some ball. You're the best. Thanks, man.
All right, boys. We'll talk to you soon.
He's the best, man. I mean, you give the guy a topic and you let him go. You say, hey, buddy. And then you just let the tiger out of the cage.
I should have put some sunglasses on so I could take a quick nap in there. So much good information. Like, he can go now. You just serve it up, put it on the tee, and kick back and relax.
I like how excited he is about the defense.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he speaks for a lot of people, including us, about just how excited we are about that unit and what they can be on that side of the ball. And then the offense, a little more uncertainty.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's some uncertainty there there's uncertainty with the potential to be really good. I think, whenever you talk about the running back room, wide receiver room, and then what do we get out of Jackson Arnold? And I think we solidified the offensive line to a large degree. There's a lot of upside rather for that group. So we'll see.
On that note, episode 429 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Wednesday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great start to your week. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.